Hi, everybody coming in. Okay, you're all on mute as you come in this evening. Okay, just gonna wait for everybody to come through there. Let's give everyone a minute coming in. I've got Sherlock on the studio as well. He's just decided to start sneezing, so hopefully he won't be able to hear him. Okay, so everybody is coming in on mute this evening. And at the end of the session, because we're doing this more like a webinar this evening, at the end of the session, we are going to have questions. We'll be able to open up the mics then. But if you've got anything to ask, to say as we go along, you've got the written chat. So if you haven't used it before, you can go down. There's a chat. There's usually a chat option down the bottom of your screen. And if you want me in a big view, if you can see everybody at the moment, if it's a gallery view, you want to change that to speaker view if you want to see. So I'm going to be sharing the screen this evening as well. So you'll want it on speaker view. And that way you will see me bigger rather than just a little tiny dot in amongst everybody else. So all good. If that's good, everyone can see and hear me. That's fine. You wouldn't believe we've really had to push ourselves today. We've been testing microphones. My new microphone system that I bought decided it wasn't going to work, or it worked, but not well enough. In the last half an hour, the cameras have been playing up as well. It's just, you'll see when I show you all the little wires that get linked in, this all always linked in and around when I'm recording tutorials, and obviously when I'm streaming, you'll understand then that if I get one little thing that goes wrong, it's like, and I've got backups everywhere. But yeah, it's always guaranteed when you go live, something decides to just not work. The gremlins. So this evening, we're going to attempt to do a little presentation. So I am going to come over here and we are going to be doing a little presentation, and hopefully you guys can now see what's on my screen. So I have been meaning to, and I know the feedback on my Behind the Studio's Door series that I did with other artists over the years. Now, those were really, really popular. Then obviously we went into lockdown. That seems like a lifetime ago. We went to lockdown, so those had to kind of stop. And I always promised that I was going to do mine here. But it's all this technology, and I was like, well, do I just film it and then just like release the film to you afterwards? And we came close to doing that today. We were like, oh my gosh, I just record it and then we'll just play that out. But no, we're going to do it live. So for those of you that have been with me for a long time, you know most of my story anyway. And thank you again for your support over the years. It's you guys are the reason why I do what I do. So for anybody that's new, and this video will go out at some point on my YouTube as well. So this is a little bit about who am I? Why do I do what I do? How do I do what I do? And a bit about my journey so far, basically. So this evening, we are, hopefully if this works, yeah, what will I be talking about tonight? So I'll talk a little bit about myself, how I rediscovered my own creative, the journey that took me from being just a pencil dabbler, or just playing with my pencils for fun, to being a full-time artist, how then that naturally led on to me teaching, the exhibitions, some of the awards, publications, and maybe even a little bit about what lies ahead. So that's kind of what we are doing this evening, in just a little bit more formal presentation. And I really like, I'm fine when I'm interviewing other people and putting them on the spot. I just, when it comes to talking about myself, I'm fine because I talk to the camera all the time, but it's still a little bit like, a little bit sort of, I don't know, feel a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. So my own journey, where did my love of art come from? So I always loved to draw as a child, and mix that in with the fact that I absolutely loved animals. I had a huge passion when I was younger for horses. Never owned a horse, always wanted a horse, always wanted to go riding whenever I was allowed to ride, um, friends of the family's horses, etc. Obviously, I was just over the moon, but I was always gutted that I didn't have a pony of my own or a horse, and riding was never regular. So we always had a dog. There was always dogs in the family, and I remember going right back because I grew up in Cornwall my first like 8 years, and my dad was very good. He was like a drafts person as well. Um, and he went to art college, but he never pursued it. He could have made an amazing he was very good at engineering, technical drawings, really precise. He would have been amazing, like say, doing something like that. But he didn't. He went off and did manual work because there wasn't a lot of work where we were, where we were from in Cornwall. So I can tell that he influenced me back then. So yeah, I went on and I obviously drew lots at school. And then when I got to age 16, I lost my father quite suddenly, and I had to make a decision of, what am I going to do? And everyone wanted me to become a maths teacher. So I think because looking back, it's easy to talk about and realize what led to what in the journey. So I kind of rebelled. I was obviously grieving, all that kind of thing was going on. And I went, no, I'm going to do the opposite of what they want me to do. I'm not going to do maths. I'm not going to be an academic. I'm not going to teach. So I went off and I did art and I did fashion and textiles. The furthest thing I could think of that was against what people, the family expected. So I did fashion and textiles. I did my art, then I went on and did my foundation. And then from there I went on and I studied and did my degree. And by that point, by the end of doing my degree, I qualified as a fashion textile designer. I hated it. Kind of all the creativity was crushed out of me. I was told, so I couldn't see color, I couldn't draw. I wasn't commercial enough, I guess. I was too individual. I wanted to do things my way, and that wasn't the accepted way. So stuck with it, got my degree, came out, went into fashion design, and bridal wear. But I think my creative by that point, so I was about 22, was knocked out of me. Um, so walked away from it, totally gave it up. And then from the age of 22 up to, I'd say, about 42, so a good 20 odd years, I literally went from job to job. I did some amazing jobs. I worked in engineering. I've worked, for the police in a really good job with the police, the ambulance service. I was a restaurant manager. And throughout all that time, I felt that I was missing something. And I'd throw myself into each job. And then every couple of years, I would go into this real depression. And nothing would really lift me out of it. So I just move on to the next job, throw myself into that. And I was exhausted by the end of this 20 years, to the point where I had complete breakdown. I had an amazing boss at the time. And my boss sent me for therapy, for counseling. And it was my counselor that identified that I was missing my creative. So, with the help of the company I work for, I'd won a big award there. They gave me £500, and that £500, I bought art materials. And I bought my first set of color pencils. Did not have a clue what I was doing, but I bought them for therapy. Basically, I bought them to help fix myself. And I know that lots of my students that come along to the workshops, I've heard similar stories from them as well over the years of like, that's why they're getting back into their art. They either gave it up for 20 odd years, 30 years to have a career, to raise a family, because, they hadn't been given the time or felt like they were allowed to pursue art, that it was a bit flippant and a bit selfish maybe to pursue art and creatives. But yeah, that I bought that first set of pencils in July, I think it was, of 2012. I signed up with the London Art College. because I thought, right, I need to really get back into my drawing skills. And all I did was graphite at that point. I bought these watercolor pencils, was absolutely petrified of them. Um, didn't add water to them, by the way, for about 18 months either. I used them dry, but I just stuck with my learning how to pick up a pencil and use graphite again. I drew shapes. I'm going to show you actually on another screen. I'll share another screen. And I'll show you some of the ones that I did right back at the beginning. I never finished that art course because I started doing the challenges for Colour Pencil magazine. The first one that I did actually won the beginner section, and that was a landscape. The third one that I did also won beginner section, and that snow leopard was the one that changed it all for me. So within 6 months, I went from having the breakdown, buying the pencils, to this creating this piece of work that got lots of attention and went quite viral for the time back in 2012. And in January of 2013, with the support of Rob, my husband, he said he'd support me for 6 months because people started asking me, would I draw their cat? Would I draw their dog? And I was like, oh, why not? Let's just try it. I seem to love it. I seem to have a passion for it. I seem to be okay at doing it. Let's give it a go. And that was it. I gave up the really well-paid engineering job and literally started drawing people's cats and dogs. And yeah, it was just a crazy, crazy time. So the other thing about it at the time was the fact that I worked with a lot of charities. And sometimes I couldn't afford to donate what I wanted to donate. I didn't feel like I was doing enough. So I found a way with my artwork that I could give those animals a voice. I could also give the charities a voice, a platform. And it's something obviously that remains true to my heart today as well. So that's why I'm doing, well, how I got going again anyway, and why I kind of like stepped away from it as well. So here on the screen, you can see some of my very, very, very first dabbles with pencils when I came back to my art. So bottom left there, this is, I remember this one. I went onto Flickr and I just started asking people, can I draw pictures? Can I draw your photographs? So the bottom left is a dog called Rooney. That was the very, very first drawing I did of an animal. Oh no, I lie. The one at the top, the flamingos. The first day that I got those color pencils, didn't have a clue what I was doing. I drew these, what I called them my angry firebirds, because they just looked so angry. I didn't have a reference or anything. I just drew these, what I thought looked like flamingos. I had some pastels there, so I shoved that in the background. I think it was on watercolor paper. I've still got it here somewhere. I've got all of these here somewhere. Apart from the ones on the right, I have sold those. But yeah, so Rooney at the bottom was my first proper attempt at drawing an animal, obviously in graphite. I would love to redo that one now and see how far I've come in those 12 years. The graphite horse was probably one of the next ones that I did. The horse on the right was my very first color horse, and that was pastels on velour. And then the wolf and the baby, that one again, these were all from really early 2013. So these were the very first ones really that I had a go at. I played with everything. Graphite felt safe, but even then I wasn't pushing my values anywhere near like I would today. Pastel I played with, oh, but it was so messy. The velour was beautiful. I loved all the effects. I hadn't found my thing. And it was the watercolor pencils. I kept coming back to that tin of Albrecht Dürer, and it was those that kind of grabbed me. And obviously, when I then started to add water to them, that's when the journey really, really kind of took off. And of course, you know, I own a few more than one tin of color pencils nowadays. Okay, so this was my very first workspace, and I was so proud of setting up my own little space. I started off the table that's in the drafting table that is in the picture there. It's here. I'm sat at it now. I've bought others. I've got a glass one over there. I've got a huge A0 size one as well. I always come back to this This drawing table, it cost me £30, I think it was. I got it off eBay. We drove down into the deepest, darkest Wales to this guy, and I bought this table, and it's the one that I use for almost all of my drawings for today. You see there's my set of pencils, those 120 pencils. I bought lots of other bits. I've still got that tin of, like, the pastels there as well. And those, like I say, my printer, we're just about to throw that printer away. They've all stood me in good stead. So yeah, I started off with that drawing table in the corner of my living room, in the living room. This was the dining room, and I kind of then, like, sort of like took over the dining room. Even these color charts, I've got them here still. I've still got these are the color charts that I did back then. So I've got everything here still. It's all here. It's all part of the journey. I've let go. A lot of the paintings have come and gone since. But it was really interesting looking back, and I'm going to show you my Facebook page later, and talk about the importance of why I say encourage you to set up a Facebook page and to share your work, because I found, going back through my Facebook page today, it's like a diary. It goes all the way back to 2012, and I can look at every piece I've done, all the little wins, all the little publications, everything is there. So, if anybody wants to see more, I don't edit anything out. It's warts and all with me. I've left everything on there, all my mistakes, because they're all part of the journey. Everything is on there to see. When we talk about successes, again, these were just things that, a few things I've just popped up on here. There's been awards over the years. Obviously, sort of, I've got that, the inaugural Chairman's Award for the Association of Animal Artists, recognised the way I work rather than just my works themselves. Obviously, I've had Best in Show of the UK Colour Pencil Society. Sort of various awards, and they are really wonderful because they add accreditation. They add, I guess, they add value to what I've done, and it is nice to be rewarded and recognised by your peers. Lots of collaborations over the years as well. I've been an ambassador, obviously, for Faber-Castell. I've worked with Karen Dash. I'm currently an ambassador for Derwent. I work quite closely with Pampastel and Golden behind the scenes. So yeah, and it is lovely when you go back through. There's that the landscape there as well. It's hidden behind. So these were the first two competitions. You can't quite see mine there, but it is on my art page. Like I say, I will show you the landscape that won that first Student Beginner Award back in 2012. And then there's my snow leopard down there at the bottom right of the Colour Pencil magazine. That's the one that changed everything for me, and that was in the December of that 2012, and it was the January that I gave up work and started doing commissions. Kind of I say gave up work. I gave up, the regular income. I must admit, I did go and I did get a part-time job for the first 2 years because I was just too scared to completely walk away. Obviously, over the years as well, there's some collaborations with Anne Kohlberg, who took me on a tour of America. That was back in 2017, after I started creating the tutorials. And then obviously that led up to the release of the book. I guess that was 2 to 3 years ago now. I think 2 years ago, I guess. I can't remember. It all does become a bit of a blur. So this has been really nice, and I have on my website made sure I've documented everything as well. Whenever there's been an award, I've got it all there, sort of like the history. So it is quite nice to look back, because we all doubt ourselves, and it is nice to look back sometimes and go, okay, I have done. I've done some good things, I've had some good achievements. So there you go. So commission artist to teacher. So the journey kind of led on naturally to, obviously, when I started with my pencils, there weren't really tutorials out there. There weren't any of these groups. There was maybe one colour pencil group on Facebook. There wasn't Instagram. There was hardly anything out there for us. So it was a case of just getting stuck in And people like Alan Willett, Julie Podolsky, Sharon Sukow, Karen Hull. We were all around at the same time, so we were all in this one group. So friendships, bonds, support was all there. And you'll see here my very first tutorial that I wrote was for Anne Kuhlberg for Colour Pencil magazine, and Alan was on the front cover. So Alan got the front cover, and I was the Beautiful Fur in 10 Steps, which is my first tutorial inside. Obviously, the teaching, then I was asked, could I share more of my techniques, and started doing the workshops. I think the picture here on the left-hand side of the people on the stairs with the spaniel, that was my very, very first workshop. And obviously nowadays, sort of like, yep, I'll go and teach a room of 35, 40 people. But I also love it when I've only got a handful of people, sort of like 6 or 8 people, because I can just give people that one-to-one. So yeah, that led on to obviously Patreon, and now like 150 projects later, we're come full circle, and I'm at a point now where I'm trying to put more structure once again. I feel that, like with everything, it doesn't become stale, but I feel like, okay, I've done a lot of all of that. What's next? I need to push myself and remind myself why I'm an artist, why I started it, as well as continuing along that path of being the teacher. So yeah, obviously I'm a columnist for the Colour Pencil magazine as well, who was the people that I started out with. Those awards that I won right back at the beginning were with Colour Pencil magazine. So it is a real honor that over a decade later, they come back and say, you're an expert in the field. We'd love for you to be our Q&A columnist. So I hate this talking about me, because it sounds like I'm going me, and it's I'm just trying to obviously just tell my journey. So that's the presentation. So I am going to try now to find my little bit, stop the share. Okay, so has anybody, no one's written any questions yet so far. I am just going to literally pop over to my Facebook page, and I'm going to pop the link up anyway if anybody hasn't got the been to my Facebook page. So what I was saying about, okay, so here's my Facebook page, and in here I've created albums over the years, and I've gone all the way back down, and here's those first dabbles with pencils. So that was that very first, my Angry Firebirds. This one here was the first challenge that I did for Colour Pencil magazine, that won that beginners section. This was the next one. It you can tell it's just, but I was so proud of it. I just got stuck in and I had a go. I did not have an absolute clue what I was doing, but I had a go. And we always got given the pictures, so it was just have a go at it. And I would look again. I was really proud. I was really proud of my apples. I was proud of the depth that I got. I'd really like to think that if I had a go at these again now, that I would have improved on them. So yeah, but everything is there on that Facebook page. What else have I got here? So also, I kept a record. It's again, if you win awards, if you get published anywhere, I kept records of all of these things. And it is nice to reflect and go back on to see where your stuff was published. I think I stopped updating this back in, I don't know, about 2016, 2017. But it's not to show off, it's just to kind of like be proud of what you do. I think I've got my very first, I'm just looking for the cat portraits as well. There you go. That was the very first, obviously, even right back then, the very first picture that I did back in 2012. I kept a record. I took photos as I went along, albeit my camera on my phone was horrendous back then. My scanner was horrendous. But, you know, sort of, that's why I try and encourage you guys. You never know where your art is going to take you. Here we go. This was my very first commission, and it's a terrible picture of it. I was too afraid to draw her in color. It was a ginger cat. It was for a friend. Again, I was super proud, super proud of it. And again, I haven't updated these albums in many years. I've just kind of left them there. I know a lot of people go in and they take all their stuff down. I just leave it all up there because it's all part of, you know, what led me to be here. And the donkeys, of course, you know, those donkeys, that's the one, another one that kind of, I became known as the donkey lady. I'd like to think I'm known as the foxy lady at the moment. I don't know. Had a big exhibition where I worked with 8 of the world's leading bear rescue sanctuaries, the founders. That was amazing. A huge experience for me. And that was in 2014. So you can see I just kind of threw myself at it. And I absolutely loved everything about it. Right, I've got to see how I can come out of here. There we go, not showing off. Okay, so there you go. That's kind of some of my journey. So I am gonna, if Rob is listening, I'm hoping Rob is gonna come in now. And we are gonna attempt to do a tour of the studio. So if you've got any questions about anything that I'm showing you, what I'm going to do is seeing your artwork from the start to know it's encouraging to be able to backtrack through your journey and show the progression in detail. It is, and it's reminders, and I will remind, Rob's just coming in there behind. He's going to be a little cameraman for me, and we're hoping that the camera's not going to play up. If you lose me, stay in the meeting. We will just re-kickstart on our end, and I'll be back in. Because we're going to unplug some leads and hopefully, right, I'm going to change the screen over and hopefully things are going to work. Did I change screen? I hope I did. Randy, I can see you. Can you nod your head? You can see me from a different angle. You can see my double chins. Look. Okay, so Sherlock's down on the floor there as well. If Rob, you want to come around behind me. So this is where I normally sit. This is my drawing table that you saw right back at the beginning. It's difficult when I record because the camera will be here. You can see I've got wires, microphone and everything. It doesn't lend itself to being really sort of nice to draw with. I can't have my music on, can't listen to my audiobooks or anything. So when I'm creating the tutorials, it's not the most kind of like nicest place to sit, but this is like, I've got other workspaces. We've got the other room, which is like a teaching room, and the office, which is a big room at the front of the house. All the sublimation, the printing, all of my marketing, etc. I didn't change the microphone over. Let me just change the microphone over because you might, bear with me a second. Right, I'm going to risk changing the audio here. Okay, can you still hear me? Yep, that's fine. Just change the mic over. So, yeah, this is where I do most of my work. This is where we do all the drawings. I can set all my lights. There's loads of lights. I've got big lights. I've got my studio lights. I've got my overhead work lights as well, the daylight lamps. So I never work under natural light. I always use the studio lights or the daylight lamps. So I haven't got a clue what the weather's doing. All my pencils. All my pencils are here. Obviously, you'll recognise these. These are the creations by Rod, all of the drawers. So I've got, these are all my Faber-Castell. These are my Caran d'Ache and my Pablos. These are all my Derwents. And here we've got a lot of my pan pastels. These are just like one whole set. And then I've got lots of pan pastels. These are all like my personal use things over on this side. Some of the soft pastels. utensils. I am pretty good. I've had a bit of a tidy up, obviously. But I know where everything is. Like in here, this is all my stuff that I send out for when I'm sending things off. Prints, originals, etc. All my labels, tissue paper, wrapping. We've got lots of stuff in here. It's all my technical stuff here. There's pencils galore, sets for workshops here as well. Tins of pencils, solvents, all my tapes. It's boring, really, but you know, sort of this is my work area. Everything is to hand. My chair, I paid a lot for my chair. I can't remember what the make of it is. I got a refurbished one, and even the refurbed one was about £150. But it is really, really good, and it has worked really well. So units, IKEA, because these are built for Kallax units. The Creations by Rod things are built for Kallax. It's brilliant, really solid. You can keep adding to it as well. So we've just extended up where I've got more magazines and books. One of my awards, a few of the awards up on the wall as well. Again, I found some more today, so we might stick them up. This is just like a new storage unit as well that we've got. Again, just IKEA ones. So this is where I keep. This is where I keep some of the workshop bits. It's just so much stuff though. We've got so much in the other rooms as well. So this is like most of the Derwent stuff, pan pastel workshop bits, slice, lots of things in there, sketch pads. And a lot of this stuff, like say, yes, I'm sponsored, things get sent to me, but these all go to workshops for you guys, yeah, those that attend, for all you guys to use. I've got lots of things in here as well, lots of my little toys, like, you know, when I get a chance to have a play. Like I've got my brush out. You know, I've got lots of nice things in here as well. Things I haven't used yet, like Neo Colours. I've got lots of things. If I get some spare time to create, then you know I will. Obviously, graphics send me lots of stuff as well. So I've got lots of things in there that I need to still try. Packaging. It's boring, but you did ask to see. Lots of tripods, things tucked away in there. And I think this is just, again, another boring cupboard. Yeah, it's where all my printer stuff is, all my papers, photo papers, etc. This is an interesting one as well. So if you, I try and support other artists, obviously, as much as I can. And I forgot, like, I've got all this stuff in here. These are all like little originals, cards. If you can't afford to buy someone's originals, I mean, this one's Amy Howard. These are little ones I commissioned with Amy as well. So it's a great way just support other artists, basically. I often buy originals. I've got a few up there from Deb Stanley, but buy cards as well. If you can't afford to buy big originals, buy cards. It's a brilliant way of buying artwork. One day I will get around to getting a lot of these just like framed up and on the wall. And it saves space as well, as you can have them smaller rather than big ones. That's my little area of laptops that have died and equipment over the years. Oh, this is a good one as well. These are a brilliant thing to have. Spectacle and lens wipes. I keep these because they are brilliant little ones you take to exhibitions and to events. And then if you've like got marks, fingerprints and everything on your glazing, spectacle wipes. They're great to get rid of all those little marks. Some hanging stuff up there, and I think this is just, again, more stuff for doing events, my electric drill, all my hanging stuff, etc. But yeah, that's all of that. Here's another work area. So this again is a desk, one of those glass ones that tips, etc. You can see again, it's set up for having a camera. I've got my daylight lamp there as well. Jelly beans. Jelly beans are very important. And obviously a human portrait. Usually there's a table here with a printer, etc., and everything on over on this side. But as you can see, there's a little throne there. Monkey, but the little monkey is down here on the floor at the moment. Oh yeah, but normally he's whilst he's been recovering from his operation, he's been in here with me, up in his little throne area. Now I've just got another little area down here. Obviously I've got projects that are on the go all the time, so I just have the Visual Edge slant boards as well. So I keep anything that I'm working on, like there's the poppy in the background, that's just the next tutorial, so that's there. And then all of the pencils for that one are here, so I've kept them in the little trays that come out of my tins, so I know that they all belong to that project. And then I've got all the Crayola, I've got all the pencils that link to each project just up and above there. A few spare frames down there, my cameras, and that's about it really. That's a little tour of my little workspace, and my radio that hardly ever goes on as well, but it's there. It does go on usually when I'm cleaning the studio. So okay, so I'm going to try and switch everything back over now. Da, 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 da. There we go, back onto this camera, and I will just try and change the audio over. If that works, then that was absolutely brilliant. Right. Okay. So that's me, my story, my studio. I'm done. It's over to you guys now if you want to ask questions because I'm exhausted. Okay. Right. Do I have a map to find everything? Right. I'm going to go back through the questions here now. Okay. Cool. Backtrack through the journey and see the progression in detail. And I think it does. Going back today and looking at things, Randy, was just really nice to see how far I come. I forget everything. I forget what I've done, and it has been nice. And I know I've skipped over so much this evening, but it has been nice. But I feel quite exhausted, actually, a little bit overwhelmed going back through it all today. Do I have a map to find everything? No, my little head, everything is in my little head. I hardly write anything down. I'm terrible. When I do write a list, I do find it much easier, but sometimes I'm scared to write a list because the list is so long. I think I'd write the list and then cry and run away and nothing would get done and I wouldn't find anything. But no, I know at the moment we're pretty good. Everything I need to work is in here. Everything pretty much for doing an event is in the big room. I can see someone's asked about storing large papers. I have someone gifted me one of those big is it plan chests? So I've got like a 6-drawer big plan chest. So all of my big sheets, when I say big sheets, it's up to about just bigger than A1. That all goes in there. All my works in progress, lots of prints, etc. They are in those 6 drawers. I have the big stiffy bag, so all my framed originals are in the front workshop area as well, because they go to events with the gazebo. All my setup basically that's all in the front room. I do have some rolls in the corner over there. I've got some big rolls of drafting film, because drafting film I find is just a bit bigger. It won't fit in my drawers. And behind one of the beds upstairs, I've got some paper that is like 1.5 meters by, it's just about 2 meters long, some big sheets of paper, which I might have to chop up and sell, to be honest. I'm never going to get around to using them again. I've got loads of canvases over there as well. So some stuff stored in here. All my paints are over there as well. And there is stuff behind some of the cabinets, because that way I know it won't get damaged and it stays nice and flat. Like my suede mount board, if they're too big to go in my plan chest, they are literally just stored behind other mount boards so that they're flat against the wall. Just find it's easier than taking up space anywhere else. So make me feel better about my Mary Poppins closets, but I tend to lose things. How big is this studio here? It's not that big, I'd say. 6 I don't know, about 16 foot square, not even that. 14, 15 foot square, I guess. I don't know what that is in meters. 1, 2, 3 by 3 meters, I guess. I don't know. It's not that big. It's a nice small space because otherwise the sound is a problem for the microphones. I do have soundproofing, like the egg boxy foam stuff, which I can put in the window. I've got soundproof curtains that go over the doors as well. But it does feel quite claustrophobic then at times. So I stopped using that as much as I can. And if the dogs bark now, I just tend to hit pause. And then when I edit, I know that I've got to edit out dog barks for the 5 seconds previous to me pausing the video. It's exhausting talking about yourself, but fab for us. Okay. What would you take to an event? Oh, the kitchen sink. No, I'm pretty good now. It depends what the event is. So if I'm demoing, I try to plan and make sure that I've got, like, say, a demo piece part done. A lot of the time then you go to an event. But what we're doing 1 day a week, 1 day a month. We are doing a local market now because obviously I want Rob to get commission bookings. So we've done it twice. Did it in July. We did it in August. We do the first Thursday of each month. It's just a local market, and we also advertise it in our front window. We've got a big bay window at the front of the house where the workshop space is. So I just started rotating, putting an original in there with a little sign saying, we take commissions, etc. And so we just take all my big grid racking. I've got a proper hanging system. Again, I think I can do this on another webinar. I'm going to do an events thing. If you're doing an event, this is my setup, and I've got a couple of other people who would share their setups as well. I don't tend to take a lot of prints, but I do have, obviously we've got sublimation business as well. So I've been printing onto bags and cushions and coasters. So there's lots of little things that people can buy for small amounts of money, as well as the originals if they're feeling really sort of like they want to splash out. And obviously I advertise my workshops and teaching and that as well. Another thing that I will talk about, this is really triggering me of what other things I can do, is on that link to my website. I think I can just do a quick share again. If I share that Facebook page again, here we go. So I think down here, again, I was super proud. This here was my very first flyer. And you can see there that, that was like one of the first dogs. There's that snow leopard. The red dog there is my very first color drawing. That was pastel and velour again. That was my first flyer. So what I'm going to do is go through and do another webinar, another presentation on merchandise, advertising, events, exhibitions. I've got my little checklist now of things that I take. Like my electric screwdriver is just that, and a spanner, gaffer tape, scissors. You learn things, extension lead. You take everything. I used to take everything. Now I've got like a condensed thing that I take with me. But yeah, it's need to see. Right, I'm just catching up on the questions. Anybody who wants to unmute, you are able to unmute your microphone now as well. Let's see where you create all of that want to work. My stiff neck. I'd love to know if you found good ways to remain physically comfortable during all those hours working at my drawing boards. Hours working at drawing boards. I wish. I don't. That's the trouble. I'm hoping next week that I am going to get pretty much a whole week of drawing, and that'll be the first real week of drawing I've done in about 6 months. Usually it's me drawing is this amount of my time. This amount of my time is admin, social media, emails, planning, editing. It's I don't get to draw enough, and that's what I need to do more of. And that's why I've been loving this doing that self-portrait, getting complete tangent. I've got the deadline in the group for the challenge, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for it, and I'm loving it. So that is my little thing. And then next week I've got Max's portrait that I want to finish. So next week for an hour every evening, I am going to set up a live stream and I'm going to sit and draw. As far as when I was drawing lots of stretches, setting an egg timer. I used to set a timer to make myself get up every 30 minutes and just have a stretch. There are physical stretches that I know my yoga teachers over the years have taught me stuff. And obviously now I go to yoga this morning, I go to yoga tomorrow, I'm going again on Sunday. I do lots of we've got like a big hot tubby thing here now as well. So I'm doing physical exercises that I've been taught that stretches things out and strengthens me and the chair helps as well. This chair is amazing. And I didn't show you, I've got another chair there, which is one of those kneeling chairs. And I find when I'm at the computer over on that desk, the kneeling chair really helps my core, makes me sit upright. I don't slouch. And this one here, this chair, I paid more money to make sure that the lumbar part of it, because I found on my old drafting chair that had no support, I was leaning, especially with the cameras, I was leaning on one side and I got such a crick in my hip and in this shoulder all down one side. And I knew it's because I wasn't sitting properly. So making sure, because when you're working in office or something, you get like what you call occupational health professionals that come round and they assess your work area and the ergonomics, etc. But here you've got to kind of do it yourself and look after yourself. So stretching, taking breaks, walks, and making sure you've got really good setup. Obviously, I know that my elbow needs to be at a right angle to my drawing. I do, when my computer and that's not on here, I can adjust my cameras and everything. I do like to tilt my board as well, and that does help, especially if I'm working for a long period. The pastel drawing at the moment, I'm working flat, which means I'm leaning over a bit more, which isn't great, but I am using my kneeling stools, so I am that, and my yoga, etc. I know that I'm strengthening my core, so I try to sit better. So there we go. Oh, I didn't realize someone's just asked, do I work with a flat surface or an angle, and does it depend on my drawing? Yes, it does. If I'm working with pastel, I usually work flat. I'm using pan pastel, and that's simply because I want the pastel to stay flat on there. I don't want it falling down. Same with the watercolor pencils. Obviously, when I work with the pencils, I like to work at an angle. So if you know anything about the visual edge slant boards, or if you don't, go to the website and read about the science behind it. The guy who invented them created those boards to sit at a specific angle. It's the same angle that our desks used to be when we were children at school. That angle on the desk, that is a specific angle that aids learning, lowers blood pressure, as well as all the ergonomics that, it's sort of, it helps. They're designed for by they're used by ophthalmologists, eye specialists, etc. Basically because you see and learn from that angle so much better. There is science behind it. It's not just me talking rubbish, honest. So I try and tilt my drawing table to a similar angle to what the visual edge sits at. Otherwise, I just pop my visual edge board on here and prop that one up because I know that one is at the right angle for me. So hopefully it should all work. Okay. Do we have any more questions? Like I say, if anybody wants to unmute, I have to get a PA. I've got a PA. Oh, I believe PA would be my role along with dog butler. I think dog butler comes top of the list above being my personal assistant anyway. Rob's doing his challenge at the moment. He's out there doing a self-portrait. So I'm going to be nudging everyone now to get their self-portraits in. Okay, any more questions? So I'm just going back through in case I've missed anything there as well. Okay.
Hey, Lisa, it's Deb. Can you hear me?
I can see you on here. Yes, Deb. Hi. I didn't even have a chance to look through all the screens to see who was in tonight.
Well, I just turned my camera on. I have a question and I have an observation.
Okay.
Or maybe we'll just call it a compliment.
Okay, I'm getting nervous
When
now.
I first started to do a deep dive into colored pencil, you were the first person that I saw on YouTube, and this would be about 7 years ago now. And I was completely enamored with everything that you did. I watched every video, everything. And I enjoyed it so much. And one of the things that I appreciated outside of just your talent in rendering, pictures is your authenticity and your sincerity. And so that really resonated for me because you, over that time, had some peaks and valleys, and you were quite open
Mhm.
about what your experience was like. And I just totally appreciated all of that stuff that you did. So I've followed other artists over that time, as well as you, concurrent with everything that you've been doing. And you're the only one that I've stuck with.
Oh, bless you. No,
Just saying,
I
just
vowed
saying.
I was not going to cry tonight, so I must not cry. And I know that. I mean, I've ridden quite a roller coaster, I guess, the last few years, and um, lots of things. Yeah, they're done, gone. I've tried my best to remain professional, I guess, throughout, and I know that I've wobbled because I'm human, and I've tried to keep it real, as I say.
Yeah.
You get what you see, and I
Mhm.
apologize at times for, you
Well,
know,
I really appreciate that about you, and you are who you are, and you have been consistent all the way through. Regardless of your own self-reflection on wobbles, I really appreciate you for the person that you are, and your willingness to share, and your openness to creativity,
okay,
because you mix and match stuff. You, as you were showing in your cabinet, all the things, you've got a few things that you have a play with. And that really resonates for me, because when I get some new materials of some kind, um, I look at it as, oh, I got to play with that, right?
yeah,
Because it's an experiment, and it's fun, and it's creative. And so I really appreciate all of that stuff. So that's I want to just put that out there. Then I have a question. And my
okay.
my question is, what camera do you use to record overhead, like to demonstrate stuff?
Okay.
And I have a reason for asking you this. And is it different than the webcam that you use when you, like, for what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I was trying to
And
reach over and get it, but I will get the box instead. Bear with me.
okay. And the reason I'm asking you is because I'm going to demonstrate something, hopefully in another month or so, in a classroom sort of setting.
Okay, I
And
remember you
it's,
saying, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can um, display that. And unfortunately, I have an old Canon DSLR, and it doesn't talk to my laptop.
Yeah.
My laptop's not new
Oh,
either.
no,
And so,
I can tell you something that will make your DSLR talk to your laptop.
okay.
So, because I have something here, I don't think, have I got the box? I might even have the box to show you that one as well. Bear with me a second, so I know where everything is. Here you go. This is why I keep everything. So when I first started, and this one goes to events with me as well still. So if I'm teaching a workshop and I want a small camera, I use my little Sony Handycam, and that's the one that I used to record most of the early tutorials. And it's brilliant
Oh,
because it focuses you, but you want manual focus on it. Some people do teach using their webcam.
mm-hmm,
So I use the Logitech. I've got the C922 and the
mm-hmm.
Brio. Don't like the Brio that much, even though it's their all singing, all dancing one. So the little Sony is lovely because it is literally just a little Sony Handycam. It's teeny tiny, but it does everything you need it to do for demoing.
Does it zoom?
So zooms, yeah, manual focus, autofocus, everything. It's lovely. It's high def. It's quite a lot of people use these. But if you want your regular camera to talk to your laptop,
Mm-hmm.
you need to either get a cam link. This is the
Oh,
really Or have you got
I
one?
saw one of those in Best Buy the other day and I almost bought it.
So
So
this is the expensive one. I have got a £5 one that I bought off Amazon just to see if it all worked. And then this was the £150 version, which
yeah, they're
took me a
expensive.
while to get it all to work. And then my big camera, which I'm about to upgrade because I've had this one now for what, 4 5 years, is it's a Panasonic. Again, I can send you the details for these anyway, but it is
Okay.
really good. And this is the one that goes now to when I'm teaching workshops. Like last year, I had this one whilst Alan was teaching in the other room, and he had my little Sony.
So,
Um,
so does that Panasonic record on board onto a memory stick, or does it have to be connected to a
it, you,
laptop?
you can do whatever. I record everything
Oh, okay.
onto memory sticks, onto memory cards.
Okay.
Um, and then you can attach microphones to it, etc. as well. It's a semi-professional camera. It's about £500, so it was kind of in the middle. And I think the Sony, you're talking, I don't know how much they would be now, like 100 and something pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends what the budget is and how much you're going to use it, really. Or if you just try the cam link and go onto YouTube and see what people say. That's what I usually
Yeah,
do.
I will do that. I will do that. Thank you for that very much.
That's okay. But yeah, I'll try and, like I say, that those questions, because people have asked me before about what equipment I use. I don't mind doing an actual, either a presentation or putting together something that shows this is the camera I use. I've tried other ones over the years, but this is what works. And also with my Panasonic, I can get it to talk to my phone and
Oh,
another phone. I can have 3 screens on one if I want to. So I can set up one looking at my pencils or paints. So if I painted, I'd have it show it mixing my paints, one on me and one on my work. So lots of options.
hmm,
But
very
I'll often
interesting.
have 3 cameras set up for the live streams anyway. So, but it's taken a lot of trial and error, gremlins, technical glitches, things not talking, and it's guaranteed you get 10 minutes from where I can start the Zoom before you guys come in. Guaranteed there'll be an update needed in that 10 minutes. So it'll suddenly decide, oh, it doesn't matter, you tried it all out this afternoon. Now's when we're going to really play up. Just to really push me to the edge before you guys come in and I go, yes, everything's been fine, honestly. Oh, thank
Thank you
you.
very much for that.
That's
Appreciate it.
okay. And thank you, Sarah, just reading what you've just put there as well.
Lisa, back to me, Randy. I'm
Hi,
looking,
Randy.
I'm looking at those edge board, the slanting boards,
Yep.
and they have a little tab at the bottom, like to hold your paper on. Does that come off?
Yep. It's got Velcro. Is that what you call it? Velcro, what yours?
Sure.
Yep. Yeah. It's got
sticky,
Velcro at the
things.
bottom.
Yeah, they just
And
peel off,
off.
stick back.
I've took off as well because they come, so you can see here, it's got Velcro on the
Oh,
back
okay.
there and at the bottom. So those things just latch on. And I've also unscrewed. There you go. So you've got the legs that drop down.
Mm-hmm.
And I've unscrewed these on the other board because I don't like the clips. I'd
Right.
rather use the magnets because obviously it's magnetic.
Yeah.
So I took those off as well.
If I have to use the clips, well, I don't have it right handy now. That sponge, well, I have some here, but you can't see it. That spongy stuff that you put in drawers.
Yeah.
I use that under the clips
Yeah.
over my paper, so then they don't make that. But to know you could just unscrew that.
But to be honest, to save money, when I do workshops and like you can get these smaller, this is just really, I buy a set of 10 of these. These are just the little dry white boards,
Oh,
that
yeah.
you write on. They're magnetic as well. As long as you get the angle, you can put little legs on them or something.
Or you could
Yeah,
use these.
exactly.
I do use those.
I buy like 10 of these for like £15, I think. So these are really cheap.
Yeah, when my husband was working at the hardware store, we had plexiglass. So
Yeah.
I have, of course, here it is. So we did this
Yep.
and taped it, and he was he was charging me $2 for them. So I was selling them back to the students for $2. He said, so where's the money from these? And I went, well, it's what I paid you. So he goes, no, these should be like $5 each. And I gave you the wholesale price. It's like, guess you lost, son.
The only thing with these, though, like I say, these dry wipers, obviously they're magnetic as well, so you can use the magnet.
Yes, I noticed that on your other ones. I do like that because then you don't have to tape anything down.
Yeah,
it's nice. Yeah,
and obviously my big board as well here. That's got a covering of the magnetic roll, and I've got another roll to go on that glass table as well at some point. It's just
magnetic roll. A magnetic roll.
Again, I can share a video. I'll put the video out again tomorrow.
Okay.
See, I'm proving I know where everything is in my studio. So this is a roll of stuff. It's called Ferroflex. But it's magnetic basically. And you can get it with a sticky back thing, so you can stick it straight down onto boards as well. And I've got that one. I've got one on my main drawing table, and I've got one to go on. This one's going to go onto the other table at some point. So
I like that.
Well, I've got a video on it as well, so I'll share that.
I did not think this Zoom meeting was going to cost me anything.
I know. I never think I'm going to spend any more money, and then oops.
I know. I look in my closet and I go, I have enough. I really need to just use what I've got. And then something else comes up and it's like, I don't have that. I bet that would be good. Yeah.
I know. And I'm going to the US next month, aren't I? And I'm spending time with Molly. So I know that I'm going to be coming home with an extra suitcase full of things. So
we'll have to go to Dick Blick. Yes. Yes.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, okay. So we are at the end of time. I hope that everyone kind of enjoyed that. I found it really weird talking about myself, but it was nice. I've done it now. I've done my behind the studio door, and I've told my story a little bit. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, obviously that follows up from after this, let me know. Randy, I will sort out that video of the magnetic stuff for you, and Deb, anything that we need to sort as well for your recording, your equipment and that. Like I say, I'll need to put all that together as the next thing. I've got the next podcast to record with Alan next week, which is mostly a question and answer. So I will ask for any more questions if anybody wants to pitch any more questions in. We are specifically doing a big Q&A for an hour next week and recording it. And I'm going to set up those live streams next week as well. So it'll be kind of a Q&A, chilled, informal thing. One might be on Facebook, one might be on YouTube, one might be via Zoom. I don't know yet. I'm going to just try and do one each evening next week to make me sit and draw and finish one of my portraits of one of my own dogs, basically. That's the way to do it. And I say, I'm hoping as well I can get on and get that poppy background finished, and start getting some content up to you guys this month as well. So, okay. Right. I'm going to say thank you very much. I haven't cried yet. I'm probably going to cry afterwards. I am reading your words. Thank you, Philip, as well. Thanks, Trisha. Thank you, Randy. And good to see you there as well, Harry. And I'm going to go before I do start blubbing. And I'll speak to you all again very, very soon. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.